Welcome to the Living Ageless and Bold podcast. Each episode, I bring you amazing women who inspire, educate, and share their experiences and journeys along the way. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's relax and have some fun hearing what can be accomplished after 55. Welcome to Living Ageless and Bold, the podcast for successful women over 55. I'm your host, Christina Daves, and I'm so excited to bring you real women with real stories, sharing their experiences and what they've learned along the way. Today's guest is bringing us all things joy. So excited to introduce you to Sheryl Lynn. She is the visionary and the founder of Joyely and the Chair of Joy Experience. She is a podcast host. She is an author, and she is the facilitator of the science of joy. And we are going to dive into that a lot deeper today. Welcome, Sheryl.
Thank you for having me today, Christine. I'm very excited. You can see I'm in my chair of joy in my house.
I know. I love it. We're going to talk about if this is my chair of joy. But before we even talk about what you do and why you do it, what is joy?
So that's a really good question. I think people have asked me that. That's probably one of my number one questions that I get asked all the time. And the long answer, boiled down to something very simple, is that joy is within. So there's this word. I wrote 2 white papers with a neuroscientist friend of mine and myself, and we discovered after lots and lots of research that there's a word in the Greek language called eudaimonia. And eudaimonia basically means an inner dwelling or a peace or contentment. And so all of my life, Christina, I searched for that feeling that I'm referring to right now. And the closest word in the English language that refers to this feeling is flourishing. And so joy, I think, is sort of the most misunderstood word that I've ever experienced. And I think you could probably speak to that as well. But it's not Christmas joy. It's not birthday joy. We don't get to find joy. We already know where joy is. It's inside of us. And it's just a matter of how do we access it and sustain it.
I love this. And post-COVID, you hear this all the time. People have a word of the year. So my word was joy. And what I learned from that was I don't want to work with anybody that doesn't bring me joy. I don't want to hang out with anybody that doesn't bring me joy. I want to feel joy. But post-COVID, there's a lot of anxiety and stress and not a lot of joy. So how do we find this? Like, how do we find our joy in our chair of joy?
So we could jump right into the experience if you would like. But I think first, if you don't mind, I'd like to just share a little bit about, as I was referring to at the beginning, the word eudaimonia, if we could just expand on that a tiny bit. So monks talk about this feeling called sukha, and Judaism calls it simcha. And as a Christianity, sometimes we just refer to pure joy or the joy of the Lord. And so the point is that joy is really whatever it is and however it is that you want to define it. So the most important part, though, however, I think that what most of us miss out is even during COVID and even during chaos and even during the worst nightmare in my heart and soul, mass shootings, right? Yeah. That we have to figure out a way to find it and amp it up and turn up the vibration in ourselves first and foremost. And when we do that, it helps others so much more than if we're talking about what's broken and how sad it is, even though it is, right? And I'm super compassionate, empathetic, and I'm all of that. And I have those moments every day, all day long. But then we need to get back to what it is that we want to feel so that we can empower everyone that we meet. So would you like to do the Chair of Joy experience?
Yes, I would love it.
Okay. So it's very simple. And the vision that I have is that all 8 billion people on the planet have a chair of joy. So this happens to be mine. I bought it pre-pandemic, just before Las Vegas shut down. I was living in Las Vegas.
Oh my gosh.
The whole strip closed. There were tumbleweeds going down. And I had this vision, like I had this desire, like, what is it going to take for the rest of the world to sit still And so that was step one. So I asked myself, what is it going to take for people to sit still? So I thought, what if I bought a big old fancy chair and just sat still? And so as the pandemic unrolled, I started taking the chair out to parks and to mountains and to parking lots or wherever I could find that I could start asking questions of people and invite them into the chair of joy. So that's kind of where it started. People ask me that all the time. But so if you had a chair of joy that isn't this one, but is your very own, Christina, which one would it be? You're in
this
it.
This one's pretty good. We designed this podcast to be a cozy place where, we're comfortable and happy. And this is pretty cozy. I'm pretty joyful here.
You look really joyful. Pink is your brand color, isn't it?
Yes, I love pink. Pink brings me joy.
I can tell. I love pink too. So, all right. So if you don't mind, and everybody else that's listening to this podcast today, if you could also uncover your chair of joy. So it could be in your mind, or it could be in your house, or it could be in your office. So if you could pick one in your mind's eye, Christina, where would it be? On the beach or the mountain, or would you go
the
to
beach?
A yoga studio?
Absolutely. On the beach with my toes in the water, with it just lapping up a little bit. That is my real chair of joy.
All right. Awesome. So if you don't mind, and everybody else, if you just would close your eyes for about 60 seconds, I'd love to take you on a little journey here. And it's called the Chair of Joy experience. So it's not about finding your joy. It's about accessing your joy that's already there. So if you could sit back in your chair of joy, step one is to sit, and you are already sitting in your chair of joy. And everybody else, if you could just plant your feet on the ground. Sometimes I ask you to tap your feet on the ground and just let your shoulders drop and just let yourself be in your chair of joy. How often do we just take this beautiful break? Step two is to start taking a few deep breaths. Look at Christina's already doing it. And the most profound breath is when you hold your breath for 4. So we're going to deep breath in for 4. Through your nose, hold it for 4. There's no stress and anxiety in holding breath. And then exhale for 8 through your mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then one more time, deep breath in for 4. And once again, let your shoulders drop. Just kind of drop into this moment. Hold your breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 8. And I'm going to ask it one more time because it's a little more interesting to connect with the people that are watching and listening. But I'm going to take some time to do that right now. So as you're out in these airways, I'm connecting with you in your heart and your soul. And Christina and I are doing the same. I want you to just, when you're breathing in this time, let go of all the stress, the worry, the chaos, the upside down, and everything that's holding you back from getting to your dreams, if any. So let it go. One more time, deep breath in. Hold it for 4. And exhale for 8. So I stayed a little longer in breath there just for a minute, just because we're on camera. But step 3 is to think about a moment of joy as it pertains to you, Christina. So something from this weekend or this morning or yesterday. You have so many, but try to tap into just one moment of joy. Do you have it?
I do.
All right. And step into it like it's a movie, like it's actually happening again right now. I want you to see the people. I want you to draw them in. I want you to have a conversation with them in your mind. What would you say to them? And then last, feel it in your body. I just want you to let that moment roll through your body. And sometimes I rock my shoulders from side to side and I move that powerful feeling. If it's goosebumpy or warm or your hair follicles are standing up, let it continue on as long as possible. And then you can open your eyes and come back whenever you're ready. Yay. So there, I guess you could call it finding joy, but I call it accessing joy. So the idea is when you can access your joy, you can maintain it and sustain it and get it more often throughout the day. So what was your moment of joy, may I ask?
Well, yes. I recently worked a red carpet at an Oscars party, and it was probably the coolest thing I have ever done. And if I could just interview on the red carpet all day long, that would be fantastic. So that brought me a lot of joy and a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then when I asked, that's really beautiful. And I can see you doing just spectacular there and making connections with people's heart and soul. That is just phenomenal. I would have loved to see you in action. And then when I asked you to feel it in your body, can you please describe what that was?
It was kind of empowering. It was because I felt so good there. Of course you have hair and makeup and you're in a beautiful dress. I mean, it's hard not to feel beautiful, but you're just very strong and empowering.
And so did you feel like a warm kind of feeling? Like, did you
Mm-hmm.
relive the memory? Did you have like
Yes.
goosebumps even? Yes.
Yes.
So I can tell you're very, very good at accessing joy and keeping it in your body for a long time. Some people, when I ask them to think about a moment of joy, and we could talk to, women over 50, like I'm a grandma, I've got a bunch of things to do. There's lots of things that we want to accomplish. And then we also maybe sometimes have a little FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, or like maybe I didn't get to that in my life yet. When is it going to happen? And is it going to happen? And all of that. So if there's ever feelings of frustration or overwhelm or not good enough, that's a really good time to go to your chair of joy. The whole concept around the chair of joy and its experience is that we have 17 emotions. And you know this, right, Christina? We get to feel all of them every single day, right? Shame and guilt. And I ate too much chocolate.
Yeah.
And I said something to somebody. I should have said it. Like all of that. So that's just the human condition. But at the same time, all day long, we also get to have just as much joy if we choose.
Oh my God. I love that. And I love how you put it into go to a place, go to a chair or just in your mind. You don't have to go to a physical chair, but find something that brought you joy at some point in your life and really focus in on that. I love it. Now, one of the things you have done recently is written a children's book.
Yes.
And we talk about, we're adults, and for us to be able to do this, I'd love to talk about the kids and and I love when I first met you and I first read about you and did everything, the first thing I thought of was, oh my gosh, this is going to take the place of the timeout chair. And then as I read more and got to know you more, I'm like, she actually says this in it. So let's talk about why we should get rid of the timeout chair and teach kids about the chair of joy instead.
So absolutely. And just to reiterate, as you were going through that experience, I don't know if you remember, but I took you through the 4 steps: sit, breathe, think, feel. So when you have a little child sitting next to you, screaming and yelling and coloring on the walls, right? Because they're just having a good time because their life is a party. Like reprimanding that sometimes is just installs fear. And when you put them in a place that makes them think about that, it invokes more fear and isolation. And what did I do wrong? Think about what you did wrong while you're sitting in the chair of joy. Now, not all timeout chairs of joy are like that, but I think that there's a huge disconnect with the way what parents think they're supposed to do and what children are supposed to do. And so the communication between that is kind of where I think the failure is. So I don't necessarily think that disciplining or timeout or any of that is wrong. I just think that wouldn't it be fun if we could move children over to a chair of joy in that situation? So I've actually done this for real. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
There was a little girl and she was mad at her cousins for stealing her toys, right? They were at her house.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. And so instead of like getting all in whose toys they were and that she has to share and all those things, I simply said, I grabbed her shoulder so she was seen and heard. I just looked at her like, that you look at your little child and you look at them in the eye so they felt seen and heard. And I just went like this. And sometimes I touch my fingers and I go, and I saw her physically calm down. And then I said, do you remember when this little boy was over here the other day and you guys were playing and you were having so much fun? She's like, yeah. I said, you love him, don't you? And she's like, yeah. And she walked away. We didn't even have to move physically to anything or talk about the timeout chair or toys for that matter. So, and then I said, let's talk about this later when Atticus isn't here. And then we have a real conversation about the issue. So my vision is that every child go home, Christina, with a chair of joy from the hospital and a book called The Chair of Joy.
I love that. And especially as you said you're a grandmother. I can't wait to be a grandmother, but I'm going to have to wait for a little while. But what an easy thing for grandparents to do. That's just have that easy transition. You've got them over. So I love this. And how about some advice? Because this is geared towards, women over 55, successful women. Some are ending one career, starting another career. I know for us, this is our first year of official empty nest. College graduation is done. Our kids have moved away. And, sometimes it's sad and sometimes it's hard. So, give us some tips on, besides the chair of joy, but let's say we're just out in something,
Yes.
What are some little things we can do just to keep bringing joy into our lives if we can't go through the exercise, the official exercise?
Yeah, no worries. So first of all, I'm an empty nester and have been for a long time. And I have 3 children and they're in Denver, Colorado. They are in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, works at Nike. And then my oldest daughter is not too far away from where I live. And I only have 1 granddaughter and I wanted 6 more children and 10 more grandchildren. And I didn't get any of that. So I guess at the end of the day, what my advice would be is that, first of all, we never stop being parents, right? The whole idea around the chair of joy is that it's about mental health. And so my children and all the things that they go through are constantly calling up. And it's almost as if, they're still in my house. So that was the first thing I did, was embrace the fact that they're always there and they always need me. And we get to communicate even more. Like I talk to all of them all the time, every day. So reach out if they're not reaching out to you. And then I'm on my 5th career, I think. I sell real estate. I have a very successful consulting management group for grocery stores around the US. And I just love life. And, you get to surround yourself with the people who are doing things. And when it gets tough and you think no one's listening, just sit back. You don't have to go anywhere to sit in your chair of joy. You can just take a deep breath. Think about all the things we've done in our life that are so amazing, that have gotten us to this place to feel all this wisdom and the ability to share it, because people want to hear it. You have to remember that. I think that if we keep it to ourselves, it does no one a service, right? We get to share and we get to be ourselves at this point, right?
Well, and it's great that you bring that up, because I find as I get older, you hear about catty girls in high school and this and that, but I really find now women lifting women. And this podcast actually came from a woman our age who gave me the idea, really helped me facilitate this idea about, Christina, we need this and you're the person to do this. And I want you. So I find that as we get older, women lift women up more than, we did when we were younger.
And sometimes we just have to ask. I think that reaching out is probably one of my biggest demises over the years, is I just thought I could handle it and do it all on my own. And now with the chair of joy, one of the things we want is for it to be a universal language. Like imagine a group of women starting their coffee in the morning or their morning executive meeting saying, wait, hold up, before we do anything, quick COJ. That way everybody's on the same plane. Everybody has the same language. And then you get to go on and do your day. And then for me, throughout the day, when I get stuck or somebody hung up on me, for God forbid, or, somebody's angry about something I said or did, or thought I said or did, you know what? I just get to call somebody and say, hey, quick COJ. So I really, really invite everyone in to join us in this movement of creating sustainable joy in our bodies, because it impacts ourselves and everyone we meet.
I love this. Do you have the hashtag COJ?
Of course.
So I want everybody to post something on social media, what brought you joy today, and make sure you use that hashtag.
Well, more than that, I would love to see a picture of your chair of joy tagged at COJ. Send us a picture of you sitting in one, or a picture of the one that you would love to be in.
I love it. Now you want to have 8 million people have their chair of joy. So how are you doing this? I know you work with a lot of big companies, but what's your plan to share the chair of joy with everyone in the world?
Oh, Christina, thank you for asking. Work with you. That's number one. You just helped me write a beautiful pitch for a hospital week. So we were working with a hospital in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, 2,000 employees, many of which never take a mental health break at all. So universities, hospitals, children's hospitals. If anybody has any open doors to any of those, I'm happy to talk to everyone. Mental health is a huge conversation in what we do. And just, like we talked about earlier, suicide is ridiculous. The mass shootings. I mean, it's just, there's so many reasons why these little kids coming up into grade school need to have a tool or experience that they can learn to get back to. So we're doing the SHRM event in Las Vegas. We're having celebrities come in on different platforms. We're shooting pieces for a documentary series pitch to Netflix. So we're working on all kinds of fun things.
I love that. I love it. And so tell me, I didn't know all the businesses that you have along with this. How do you define success?
Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you, a dream came true yesterday. Mike and I just put an offer on a house on an island on the river, and it's always been my vision to just be in the woods and work. And so in a couple of months that will happen. But success looks like that peace every day as often as possible. And I do that for the most part, but I have this big vision, so sometimes I get a little wonky there, but success just is knowing how to feel joy as much as possible.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And I love that you do this every day, like every day. And I've known you, I don't know, probably 6 or 8 months now, and you don't change. You really do exude joy. And I truly feel that you get joy by giving other people joy, which
Absolutely
is absolutely amazing.
125 cities, I think, and 15,000 people have sat in this, quite a few virtually as well. So our vision, again, is to just make sure that everyone knows the words Chair of Joy. So thank you for allowing me to keep on talking the talk and walking my walk, because it's important. As simple as sit, breathe, think, feel is, it's taken me 30 years to sit, breathe, think, and feel, because I've tried all the tools. I've done all the meditation. I've done everything. And I couldn't figure it out. And, I come from some trauma and tragedy, probably like we all have. My brother whipped a baseball at me and broke my nose when I was 8 years old. And
oh my gosh,
I grew up with a disfigured nose until I was 4. At least I thought so. When I fixed it when I was 4, no one noticed.
right.
So it was just me going, I'm so ugly, right? I can't even look in the mirror. And it wasn't even that. It was just whatever story I made up in my mind. And I truly believe we all have, there's 29 different kinds of tragedies and traumas. We all either have had 10 of them or know somebody who's had all 29 of them at some point in their life. So.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're helping people. And I want to end on the question that we ask every guest. What is your biggest accomplishment since you turned 50?
50. Let's see. My biggest, so many.
You can do more than one. I'll give you a top 3.
I started another company, Joyely, LLC. I took my van away from my family and went on a trip across the United States looking for my next place to live. That was about 53. And I landed in South Lake Tahoe, and I became a ski instructor, and I was just living the dream. So those were 2 really highlights for me so far in my 50. I'm turning 60 this year, Christina. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. And you are amazing. Thank you for bringing joy to everybody. We'll have all your information in the show notes so you all can connect and learn more about the Chair of Joy. Post your pictures. I'll be posting mine for this interview.
Please do.
So thank you so much for joining us. I so appreciate you.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
And thank you all for listening or watching this episode of Living Ageless and Bold. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And you can head over to livingagelessandbold.com and sign up, where we will give you information, inspiration, and we're going to have exclusive opportunities for women just like us over 55. And no matter what you do, never stop living ageless and bold.